Welcome to the 7 Eagle Group podcast, your home for inspiring stories, valuable tips, and great advice from hard-charging veterans so you can lead a more rewarding and lucrative post-military career.
You guys know I love to share the stories of really successful entrepreneurs and veterans who have just have great journeys along the way. And today I'm super excited to talk with one of these guys. He went to West Point, met his wife at West Point, and where he flew Chinook Helicopters. I was a captain there in the Army. Last 7 years, I believe, was your term. And started when he left, started this amazing bread company called Inked Bread Company. They're based out of California, and just super excited to have a chat with you. Please welcome Scott Seymour.
Well, thanks, Jordy. It's great to chat with you.
Awesome.
And just real small, technically, I met my wife at the advanced course. I didn't know her at West Point, but
gotcha. Well, thanks for clarifying.
We just had our 28th anniversary actually today, November 1st.
It's my anniversary is today too. Well, we're a year behind you, 27. So, and I know you were just telling me about your son and daughter who are going to be doing ROTC, and just a real military family. So I love it. Love. Looking forward to the conversation. So tell everyone, Scott, a little bit about growing up. Where'd you grow up? What made you decide to head down the military path?
No, great question. I grew up in the farmlands in Ohio, so a little town called Ostrander that no one's ever heard of, and always wanted something more. And did sports, did well academically in a very small school, and somewhere along the way I learned about service academies and ROTC, and got very focused on that. And I was very fortunate to get a nomination to all the service academies. At the time, as John Kasich, he was a 20-something-year-old representative he ran for president at one point.
Yeah, I remember.
But again, that was in the 80s, and very fortunate to get into West Point. It kind of changed everything I ever did in my life, I think, because again, most people didn't go to college from my high school.
And
most became farmers or trade, and I mean, my high school is an hour's drive from where I was. Is all farms. So
wow. What, did you have a parent in the military? Like, what made you?
Yeah, my father had been in the National Guard with the Air Force. He had 3 brothers, so three uncles, 4 brothers. They all served. One was Merchant Marine, one was Coast Guard, one was Air Force, one was Navy. So
wow,
in my neighborhood, I mean, everyone would talk about Pearl Harbor, and so there are a lot of vets in the farmlands where I lived. So like the 4th of July parade, there'd be a lot of vets. I mean, I thought military was one of the main professions. Yeah. Even though I wasn't anywhere near military base, or it's just Ohio, I think, had a lot of vets. So
great, that's cool. Do you mind sharing, a little bit about your time in the Army? What was that like? I know you flew helicopters, and did you have a good experience? How did that help you?
It definitely helped. Well, one, everything in the military, that family support, something you don't always see in the civilian world. Yeah. So, I think having that camaraderie and that support, from mentorship to mentoring others to just being on a team, it's that's where I think sports kind of parlay into it as well. But my experience, I went flight school, and then the transition to fly Chinooks is a year and a half. So I was in school for a while, and then I went to Germany, and my unit was in Somalia. So they returned from Somalia, and right as I arrived, but we had a few helicopter crashes. We had quite a few fatalities in my on my post, or my Kaserne is in Germany, is Giebelstadt, which is kind of in the northern part of Bavaria, and a lot of helicopter accidents. Plus, we were deployed to Somalia, Rwanda. We did a lot of deployments, and there's all the pre-Bosnia, before the Dayton Peace Accords, so it was the UN Protection Force. So it was very fast, and there were a lot of we went from this bipolar system, the Cold War, somebody's going to push a button, to all these conflicts in humanitarian relief. Additionally, we had all these humanitarian missions that we did, the Beirut Air Bridge out of Cyprus. We flew into Turkey, provide comfort, where we'd feed the Kurds every day. And, we all the officers kind of got deployed to either be a liaison or to actually fly these missions. And while I was there, we had a pretty bad friendly shoot down that killed 17 people.
I'm sorry.
And then we had 3 or 4 accidents while I was there. So where I'm going with all this is that, you really get close really fast. And, there's this thing about, when you're sitting on your thumbs or you're just training, which is what I did when I was at Fort Campbell. My guys were always in trouble. We were all coming together and actually doing stuff. And these are people that, you get very, very close to, and you learn a lot about. And, you're doing stuff in your 20s that you never would have done ever, probably in any other profession.
Yeah.
It really helps you rise and learn what you're able to do. But also that it's almost like the ranks don't mean anything. It's experience. It's the intestinal fortitude. It's what people have. The character comes out. It's pretty amazing. So,
yeah. How do you think everything you learned in your service, how do you think that prepared you to be an entrepreneur and to have this courage to go off on your own and start this amazing company, Ink Bread, where you're up to 1,500 locations now on the West Coast, and it's organic keto bread, real healthy. It's not easy to do that. You're responsible for 400 employees working on this, and how did that military service put you in a position to be successful?
In a number of ways. One, nothing. So there's the war saying. I like the Mike Tyson one. You can be. The best prepared plans. Go away the second you get punched in the nose. I mean, nothing goes as planned ever. There's a direction, and you know where you're trying to go, but it's not a straight line.
Right.
And and what I do, whether it's regulation, it's a competitor doing something, it's trucks breaking down, it's somebody complaining about something. Right. I mean, I can't make up. Every day I say I can't make up what something's going to fall into my lap. And I think it's the same thing in the military. There is no direct path. I mean, there's strategy and there's tactics, but what happens it just goes in different directions. I actually would go a little further. I'd say that a lot of the people I know, including myself, were almost addicted on that, which is not the easiest way to make money, provide for your family, because in other words, I'm taking on risk. It's managing risk all the time. Aviation was about managing risk. You can't eliminate it. Right. Being an entrepreneur is just brutal. It's if you like risk, it'll give you that.
Say if you don't like risk, stay away.
Yes, and if you really want structure and you really think things are going to go a certain way, and you can't deal with the left jab over and over with the sucker punch and who knows what else, then you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Yeah. But if you can deal with that, just like a lot of situations in the military like that. Yeah. I know we always talk about the military being so structured, but there's this other side about, to get stuff done and what you might do in a real mission. It's just not that linear. It's not exactly as planned ever.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk a little bit about Inked. What brought this about? Tell everyone a little bit about the company.
Yeah, and I also would add a couple of things. I didn't go directly. I actually I went to what people would call Wall Street in between, and I worked on for 14 years. I did what you call distress. So I did both, where I helped companies through bankruptcies or restructurings or unnatural acts, taking an arm off here and putting it on over there, and saving repurposing the assets on everything from like an AIG and General Motors down to Fruit of the Loom and a lot of automotive companies. Yeah. And then I also spent half my time investing in companies to the debt, and even the only famous one people know is the Terminator movie franchise. I brought that out of bankruptcy, it's called Halcyon, and made Terminator 4 and repurposed that. And but anyway, I wanted to do my own thing. And I was always a member of the team with doing these big restructurings. And actually, I leave out one. I did a 3-year restructuring in the Middle East with Sharia debt, 57 banks around the world. I'd go on and on, but I called that the capstone. It's the last thing I did. That was 2011, 12, and 13.
Yeah.
And even though I was never deployed there in the military, I saw my share of Eids, Hajjs, and spent a lot of time there with a lot of the central banks and capital market authorities and stuff. And at the end of that, I was not a partner at the firm where I was, and I was like, I've always just wanted to run my own thing. So since the end of 2013, I started another company that was in the gaming space. I'm using bingo math called Class 2 Gaming. And had a kind of a flat level of success there. And my cousin's still working on that. He's a Coast Guard guy. But in 2016, one of my relatives, a very well-known baker, and we'd been talking about doing something for a long time. And I found a couple bakeries that were for sale. And I spent a better part of a year trying to purchase a bakery. My relative became very high up at a very large company and had a conflict of interest, so he couldn't help me. And along the way, another military buddy, an Air Force guy, put me in touch with his father, who had run the whole bakery operations on the distribution for Interstate Bakeries and Flowers Foods and some companies like that. And he put me in touch with his best guys, and we put a business plan together to buy this bakery. And that was in Las Vegas in 2000. Actually, that was 2016. We did not buy the bakery, but we ran with the business plan and teamed up with some of the coach, the U.S. baking team. There's actually, we have the Bakery Olympics, the Bakery Bakers Guild, and there's something called the Coupe du Monde every 4 years outside of Paris. And it is the Baking Olympics. And Nicky Justo, who was the star pupil of that for a couple cycles and became the coach of it, he and his uncle Keith Justo, Keith's father helped define the USDA organic label, and his sister Pamela created the first gluten-free company called Pamela's Products. But anyway, Nicky helped us develop some recipes. We developed 6 breads, and it wasn't exactly a straight line, but within a year and a half, we were in the Southern Pacific region of Whole Foods, which is the center of California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and Hawaii. And then we immediately went into the Costco's in Hawaii and the military commissaries in Hawaii, and started doing road shows. So to this day, I have, of my team, I have about 10 full-time employees that just do road shows. And a road show is a true event. I mean, it's a 4-day event in a Costco. It starts on a Thursday, goes through Sunday. Very, very intense when you have the number of SKUs that we do. And you sample the product, and you see 2,000 to 10,000 people in that time period. You tell the story, and there's no better way to promote the product because they're talking to people who really care, have passion. They get to sample the product, but it's a very high touch, very costly way of marketing. We don't do a lot of social media. We don't do the commercials. Until now, we're actually affiliated with the UFC now. We were in Power Step. Nice. That's a brand new thing, but continuing on. So after 2017, 2018, doing a lot of road shows, we finally got into the LA region of Costco, which was kind of our breakout. That was the end of 2018. And since then, we're now in 3 regions of Costco. We're going into the Pacific Northwest in December. So that's up to 72 more Costcos. So we're in almost 200 now, and we'll be in quite a few more.
Congratulations. That is awesome.
Safeway and grocery outlet. We're in, I really should have started. We were in almost all Walmarts in California, Sam's Clubs in California, Arizona, and Nevada.
Oh my God.
So we're not, we can only pick our spots in that, we're not, there are 2 large companies out there. Bimbo Bakeries, a $30 billion company, and Flowers Foods out of Thomasville, Georgia. It's like a $6 billion sales bakery. And then there's, a few regional players. We're trying to be a national player, but right now we're still focused on the West Coast.
The West, You got to get out east to my Trader Joe's out here.
It's a great store.
They would love your Your product. Oh, that's all. I can't wait to taste it. I'm going to look for it as soon as on my next trip out west in a few weeks. So, um, talk a little bit about talk to the transitioning vet or a veteran who's considering a career in entrepreneurship, and why do you think it's a good path for them? Like, why do you love what you do every day?
Well, mainly, yeah, there's it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
I report to myself for the most part, but that's really hard. But that's also, again, I think great from the military standpoint. But I'd actually start with, I don't think being an entrepreneur is for everyone. And
mm,
I also, I have 14 years of working in financial institutions, so investment banks and hedge funds and private equity firms, and there's, and even those are less structured than General Motors or Amazon,
right.
call it. Um, and but some people can become much more successful doing that. I think you really have to ask yourself, what is it that you want to do? And if you're to manifest and look at what do you want to be and how would you get there. I'm not a corporate person. I knew that inside. My father had laundromats out in the farmlands. I mean, everybody, I look back, everyone I was around was an entrepreneur. I mean, I think it was in my blood,
Yeah,
but I thought I could be an investment banker, sit in a hedge fund desk, but I don't want, I'm that, it's like I'm a food critic. I'm like I'm like valuing how other people do stuff and trying to make money from that.
yeah,
I think most people love that, and I probably could be much more successful doing that, but I couldn't do that. I had
yeah,
something inside me that said, I have to build something. I have to
yeah,
make a
yeah. Got
difference. I
bit
have
by
to
the bug.
change. But that is there's much more failure, much more ups and downs, the roller
Right.
coaster. I think my wife would prefer that I stuck with a corporate path
Yeah,
for
I'm in the
sure.
same boat as you. I know the drill, man. I know. Can you talk more generally about a career in sales? I'm a huge proponent of veterans getting an opportunity to have a job where they're in charge of bringing in revenue, and I think it can help them throughout, no matter what they do in their career. And I know that was a big part of your after you transition and what you're doing now. Can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on a sales
Well,
experience?
I actually say, if you're to hit like one thing I'd call a weakness or my Achilles heel, I am not a salesperson, but I have the best salespeople on my team
Yeah,
because there's almost nothing more important. So to go to your point, if you're an entrepreneur, you either better be the number one salesperson, like telling the story and getting in front of people and developing those relationships. I mean, for us, the buyers are, we have, I mean, yes, consumers buying our product is important, but the buyer is the gateway, the
yeah,
gatekeeper, and it's extremely important that we foster a strong relationship. We listen to the buyer, we do what the buyer says, even, and I don't say we disagree because buyer might hear this, but we have to be very careful.
sure.
And so without sales, I don't exist, and it
Right.
is what drives us. As a matter of fact, most of our resource in the beginning and even today, I put to my sales guys,
Listen, yeah,
sales people, and I have some of the best.
yeah,
So again, if I were good at that, that is a great path to going to the top or just
right.
being good. It's like the infantry or the combat arms, the front line of a company. It's the guys in the field. And truthfully, in the Army, everyone secondarily was an infantryman because we had to be able to shoot our pistol, defend ourselves, or shoot our weapon and defend ourselves. It's the same thing in a company that I've observed. I mean, the sales, everyone has to be sales
Yeah,
secondarily anyway. So
yeah. Scott, I can't thank you enough for sharing a little bit of your story. It is absolutely fascinating to me what you've done. I truly appreciate you doing this for your brothers and sisters from the military. Hopefully, any of you out there listening who are considering a career as your own business owner, listen to Scott's journey. Check out everybody if you're out, especially if you're out on the West Coast. Check out Inked Bread Company.
please.
Yeah, I can't. Is there a way for people to order online or not yet?
We do e-commerce as well,
Okay.
but
So
the
we'll put
bread does cost about twice as much because of shipping. I mean, shipping's always a
is the
challenge
killer, I know.
for
But
especially an item
whatever,
like
there are
that.
a lot of health nuts out there. I like to be when I can. So make sure, please check it out. We'll put the link to his site on our page. And again, Scott, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you and what you've
Thank
done.
you, Jordy. Thanks for having me. It's awesome.